Um, Thank you, Jesse. We'll be recording this meeting to post it on our YouTube channel for anyone who can't attend, but signed up to kind of hear what's going on. We'll do a quick round of introductions. Just your name, affiliation with the POV, and then your favorite fall activity. So I kind of already introduced myself, but my favorite fall activity is probably hiking and looking at all of the nature. And so I'll pass it off to Georgia, and then we can just popcorn around if that sounds good to you all.
Hi y'all, my name is Georgia. I'm a volunteer and outreach coordinator here at the POV. And my favorite fall activity, it's probably like fall food. Yeah. And Jesse can go next.
Hello, my name is Jesse Jager. I'm the Director of Development Advocacy for the Poverello Center. And my favorite fall activity is every October during the the Teachers Union Conference, 4-day weekend, my family takes a family trip to someplace as a group. And this year we went to Fairmont Hot Springs because my oldest child has moved to Butte. And so we wanted to bring that trip close to him so he could participate, which was fun to see him and his girlfriend and then sit in some hot water for a little bit. So that's my favorite fall activity. And how about we go with Steve?
All right. I think my favorite fall activity is hiking. Same with Sarah, seeing all the beauty and the biodiversity. I'm currently ensconced in East Tennessee in the Smokies, but I'll be back in the zoo after the 17th, but glad to join you today. And I'm affiliated through UCC Church in Missoula, and glad to be here. And so, Liam.
Hi, my name is Liam Morrison, Development Associate of the Poverello Center, essentially Jesse's henchman. And my favorite fall activity, as much as I want to be like an outdoorsy person, my favorite fall activity is probably just sitting on my couch watching football, if I'm totally honest. Maybe carving a pumpkin if I have time. And I will pass it on to Bill.
Well, I came in late, so we're introducing ourselves, I understand, and then what we like in the fall. Bill Johnston, First Security Bank, and my favorite activity in the fall is watching the leaves turn. I know that's not very active, but I love the brisk mornings and the beautiful fall colors, and then we get out and do walks and just enjoy the outdoors. And I'm going to turn it over. I don't know who was ahead of me, so who's next that hasn't talked? Sarah?
Maybe Patricia or Zach?
How about
Go
Patricia?
ahead, Patricia.
Or Zach?
I will. I'll go ahead and go, and then I'll give it to Patricia afterward. I'm Zach Malden, Volunteer and Food Programs Manager at the POV, and I enjoy being outside, hiking and trail running. And actually everything that everybody has said, to be honest, like, the football, the kicking back, like building a fire, hanging out. It's the best. And Patricia?
Okay, I'm Patricia Hogan, and I'm just an at-large member of the community in Missoula, supporter of the Poverello. And my favorite fall activity is cleaning out the rain gutters. And I'll pass it to Jill.
Thanks. I'm Jill Bonney, Executive Director at the POV, and I would agree with Zach, like everything. Fall is my favorite season. So just the cooler weather and wearing a sweatshirt after a long summer and fire, and, you know, like bonfire fires and fall food in the changing colors, all of it. So I love fall.
Awesome. I think we got everyone. So thank you all. Great to see some returning faces and new faces. It's great. So today we'll be talking about food programs and also just fielding any questions or concerns you all have. With that, I'll pass it off to Zach to talk about food programs this fall.
Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, so I would imagine a lot of you are familiar with our food programs, or at least aware that we serve a lot of food at the POV. It's one of the simplest things about our mission. I think the organization even started with serving food and outreach, and it's grown ever since. Currently at the POV, we're serving 3 meals a day. 2 of them are hot meals, which are lunch and dinner. Right now we're serving between 300 and 600 meals every day. And it really depends on the day, the time of month, and even the time of year. This is the time of the year when we start serving more food and providing more resources in general. We start seeing more people on property trying to access our shelter services. So our kitchen is very busy. A unique thing too, I always like to talk about is, which a lot of people are unaware of in the community, is that over 90% of the food we cook with or distribute is donated or rescued food through our food rescue program. We have a refrigerated truck unit that goes out Monday through Friday and picks up food that we from grocery stores in town that we have partnerships with that otherwise would have been thrown away. And to kind of put it in perspective, Liam, you can correct me if I'm wrong on the data, but in previous years, we've rescued over 500,000 pounds of food through our food rescue program. So it's enough to make a modest dent here in town. Food waste is a big issue and it's out of control on a global scale, and it's no different in Missoula. So I always like to talk about that and just let people know that you can do a lot with food that is going to be just thrown in the landfill. And it kind of means our food is diverse. We get to do a lot of scratch cooking. Our recipes and menus are kind of like always rotating and stuff, and it's really nutritious food. We get a lot of whole foods and donated proteins like beef and chicken and things like that, which is kind of cool. Also, a few other things. We are one thing that we've observed in the past like year and a half is our demand at our organization and also in the community for food that is ready to eat, like sack lunches. That has increased significantly. It is very hard for us right now at the POV to keep up with the demand for sack lunches, primarily for 2 reasons. One is sack lunches are kind of time consuming to make. And then also the donated materials that we do receive through food rescue are decreasing. And I think, long story short, it's just a greater economic problem with supply chains and labor force and all of that, but we're definitely seeing it on our end. And so we may not have enough sack lunch materials to produce them. And then when we do have enough materials, we don't have the volunteers that we need to make the sack lunches. So that's kind of an issue that we're working through right now and worth talking to you all about. Also, now that winter shelter has started, it started last night. We slept around 28 to 30 people, which is amazing. But that also means that we're going to have to deliver more food and more sack lunches. So we're anxious, I guess I should say, to get ready to try to keep up with the demand for sack lunches through winter. Right now, we are making 600 sack lunches a week and going through them very easily. A lot of times we run out and we have to look at using our shelf stable meals or like ready to eat meals that we have kind of in our reserves. So yeah, so I'll just leave it at that. Right now, I would say like 400 of our meals are actually being prepared, or of our sack lunches are being prepared by a volunteer group at St. Francis. The others are made up from residents at the POV helping out, or community volunteers when they're in our building helping us in our food programs. A lot of times they're making sack lunches as well. So that's how we kind of make up the rest of them. And then I guess to speak a little bit about the winter shelter, the Johnson Street Emergency Shelter, what food is going to look like on that end. It's similar to last year, actually, almost identical. We will be preparing all food at the POV because we have a commercial food establishment or a license through the health department, and transporting the food to Johnson Street to be served Monday through Friday there. There's going to be one hot meal at Johnson Street from starting at 1 p.m. every day, or Monday through Friday. And then the rest of the meals at Johnson Street are going to be sack lunches. So whenever someone wants or asks for a sack lunch, ideally we're able to put one in their hands in the mornings, in the evenings, whenever the hot meal is over. So it's, again, yeah, like it's very similar to what we did last year. But we've got some nice equipment over at Johnson Street, and it allows us to get food from the POV to there, maintain the temperatures, and safely serve it to our guests who are staying at Johnson Street. And also something that a lot of people are maybe unfamiliar with or unaware of, anyone can come and access our food. So you don't have to be staying at the POV to come and eat a meal. We have folks who are struggling to make ends or to meet their groceries on a daily basis or to make ends meet. And so they'll stop by and have our food and never stay a day at the POV. It doesn't matter. So our day services are open to the public, and that's the same at Johnson Street and at the POV. So it's worth keeping that in mind. If you're talking to people in the community, you can let them know to go to the POV or the Johnson Street Winter Shelter if they need food. And then the last thing I guess I'll kind of get into is ways to get involved. Like I said, we need support in our food programs, whether it's helping with preparing our meals on a daily basis, whether it's supporting like our kitchen staff doing scratch cooking and stuff like that, or also just making sack lunches. I'm actually talking to First United Methodist Church right now, and we're exploring ways for them to leverage their community kitchen in their church to prepare sack lunches, and then we can pick them up from them on a weekly or a monthly basis. So there's a lot of room for creativity and to use kind of the assets that you have in your own agency or your own group or civic group, et cetera, to make an impact here at the POV. And then also we have Thanksgiving coming up. So me and Georgia just finished building out the schedule for Thanksgiving volunteering. And we need about 50 to 60 volunteers the week of Thanksgiving, and then about 30 people on the day of Thanksgiving to kind of make it happen. We are one of the few places in Missoula where folks who don't have homes or that can actually go to have like a proper holiday meal. So we're going to have all the fixings like turkey, stuffing, casseroles, and stuff like that. Sarah just shared a link for any of you that are interested in signing up for those Thanksgiving volunteer opportunities. Just follow that link. And if we've done our job correctly, it should be self-explanatory, and it'll take you to the portal and you can just sign up for shifts. It's also good to bring your friends and family. If you ever have any trouble with that, just let us know, and we can get you signed up on our end as well. And then also like holiday donations. I know this is a lot of information, and you guys can ask questions if you have them in a sec. A lot of people want to donate during the holidays. we are happily accepting food donations for Thanksgiving. We'll probably do some social media outreach about like what donations we're accepting, but just like right now, like just thinking of like Thanksgiving large bulk meals, like how do we do that? Like we're accepting turkeys, like chicken base or stock, butter, heavy cream, canned bean, like green beans, and also spices are really hard to come by through donations. So your black pepper, your salt, your garlic, your sage, rosemary, and thyme, things like that. Those are extremely valuable and hard to come by. So spread the word, and then also keep an eye out for some of our communications on social media and stuff like that about even more items that we're accepting. Again, like if we don't have people showing up to volunteer or donating the supplies, the ingredients to prepare these meals, it just wouldn't be possible. And then it kind of brings me to like also like talking a little bit about Town Pump. Like we have, we're really fortunate to be in their good graces, and they have through their Montanans Helping Montanans campaign have donated $25,000 for us through our fall campaign for focusing on food. And it's like this annual partnership that we have with them that is like extremely meaningful. And I just feel like it's important to give them a shout out because that is just, it goes a really long way when it comes to, you know, being able to provide 300 to 600 meals a day to anyone who asks. So thank you, Town Pump. So I guess, I don't know, that was a long rant of information. Do you guys have any questions? I feel like it'd get more interesting if you ask some questions.
Zach, Bill
Yeah.
Johnson, back to your comment about St. Anthony's and their lunch building program. So the bank likes to volunteer. One of our challenges is during the day, maybe it's an hour for each person or an hour and a half. And so it's important where we're located to do the volunteering. Can we just give St. Anthony's a call and help supply their staff? Because it seems like we could do the lunches, but we don't have the facility to properly maintain the building of the sandwiches and the lunches. But if we are in a facility and they just need some people, do you think that might be something we could help do?
Potentially. So just to clarify, St. Francis Xavier comes into our kitchen at the POV Wednesdays and Thursdays. We kind of shut the kitchen down and just leave it to them to do their thing. And they bust out 200 lunches pretty quickly with like 5 or 6 people. And then First United Methodist, like I said, just hypothetical, like just an example, I know that they have a commercial kitchen, which is required for us to be able to prepare food in and serve to our guests because of the health department and our licensure. But I just feel like, you know, for them, it was a challenge to get into our kitchen, but I know that they have the kitchen themselves. So I kind of proposed that idea and they're interested in it. I feel like they'll have enough people if their kitchen committee approves this project. However, if your team, whether it's 1 or 5 people, want to come on the weekdays for an hour or in the evenings or even weekends, you can use our kitchen. You know, we can use materials that are donated, but if we know ahead of time that we're expecting 5 of your staff to be here in our kitchen, we can make sure we have enough sack lunch supplies to actually make it a really productive time spent in there. So I don't know, it kind of depends, I guess, is my answer. But I don't know if that answered your question.
No, it did. Thanks, Zach. And
Okay.
I apologize. I thought I heard you say Anthony, and I know they have a kitchen there. And
Yeah.
so I was anticipating that's where it was. I probably
Yeah.
heard what I wanted to hear and not what you said.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, you know, especially around the holidays, that may be something that we could get somewhere, because we all volunteer our time.
Yeah.
I mean, we're already doing a lot of it, so I don't know if I can follow through on this, but I'll start asking around, and maybe for the coming holidays, we could get a day or two that we could build the lunches.
That would be amazing. And it's like the sky's the limit. Like everybody's schedules and interests and like their, I guess almost capacity is different, like for me, like some people are like, well, how can we make this happen? Or like, how long will we have to be there? Or where do the materials come from? And it truly like, it's funny for me because I'm like, well, what can you do? Because we'll happily accept it and facilitate it. So it's like just knowing St. Anthony's has a kitchen like that, like a lot of times is all it takes for someone to spearhead a project using a kitchen. Like people getting creative in the community to support us is really all that I'm talking about. And like I said, like everybody's circumstances are different. So we can use our kitchen or they can use their resources that they have. But again, it's like it doesn't really matter. Whatever works best for each person. But I would love to involve your company and get your staffers in our kitchen or whatever. And I'm happy to do outreach there too. If you guys ever want to learn more, I'm happy to go there and tell everybody what we do and how to get involved as well. I've done that before.
Bill, is St. Anthony's near one of your branches?
Yes, it's St. Anthony's. It's not far from Hellgate High School.
Right.
And I don't know the address. I know that's where the Kiwanis picnic or Kiwanis pancake breakfast is held. But we'll see. We're pretty involved with food insecurity in Missoula through the different organizations, and it always is rewarding to add even more of an outreach. So we'll see what we can do.
Cool. Thanks, Bill, for that question.
Like Patricia has her hand up. Virtual.
Thanks, yeah. I was interested to know, thank you for all that information. That was good. And I was interested to know that people can eat there who are not necessarily residents.
Yeah.
But I'm just also curious about the residents or the clients who are also volunteering to help serve and prepare the meals. Do they have to go through some kind of health department clearance, or do they just get to volunteer on an ad hoc basis?
The latter. Our kitchen is staffed with POV employees, and they'll do like little trainings and show people the ropes. But you'd be surprised. A lot of people who are staying here or even community volunteers do have like kitchen experience. Like, oh, I've worked in a restaurant before and stuff like that. And, when it comes to like food safety, not a lot has changed. But we don't really make people go through like serve safe classes and whatnot. Our staff have these certifications, and they're kind of supervising whether it's a resident of the POV or a community member who are in our kitchen helping out. They're not doing anything. They're not orchestrating recipes or even cooking over the stove that much. Our staff are just kind of giving them tasks when it comes to like food prep and things to, like chopping up veggies and things like that. Not a lot of expertise is required, but most of our staff are the ones who are there doing kind of the coaching. Yeah.
Zach, I had a question.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. What's up, Steve?
What are the best hours during the day and the week that you would least disruptive if you wanted to get 5 people in to do sack lunches for you?
Good question.
Do you have a window?
So technically speaking, to be like least disruptive would be after lunch. So lunch wraps up around 1 p.m. So anytime between 1 and 4 would be ideal. It's kind of a downtime for the kitchen. But if your only availability is 8 a.m. on Mondays, it doesn't matter. We can make it happen.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Are there any other questions? If Oh, Patricia, yeah. Oh, if not, then Liam, I'll turn it over to you to talk
Sure, I
about.
actually had one other quick question that I wanted to just get Zach that occurred to me that
yeah,
would be
of
helpful for
course.
this crew to know a little bit. Zach, could you say a little bit about our new partnership with the Meadowlark Family Shelter and the Y and Family Promise? I just think that's a new emerging partnership that not a lot of people know about just yet.
Yeah. So the Meadowlark Family Housing Center, this is a partnership between Missoula Interfaith Collaborative and the YWCA, that nice new building off of 3rd Street over by the Good Food Store. We are supporting them with meals, one hot meal a day between from Monday through Friday. To go and support the families who are staying there. So we're preparing food using the POV's resources in our commercial kitchen. And then the Meadowlark staff are actually picking it up on a daily basis and taking it there for dinner. And it's been great because we're feeding around 30 to 35 people, just families. 2/3 of them are children. So it's been kind of interesting actually to kind of fine tune. We started this partnership maybe about a month and a half ago. And it's been interesting to kind of fine tune and change our, like the food that we're sending them because of the children and what their tastes are and stuff like that. For example, like we initially we're like 35 people. We'll send them enough food for 35 people. And then after a few weeks, we realized that kids don't eat as much as adults. And we were like, oh, okay, a person's not a person. We got kids here too. So we've been kind of like fine tuning it, and it's been fun to kind of be able to leverage what the POV does very well, so that like Meadowlark doesn't have to reinvent the wheel and, prepare all that food and at their facility. So it's, the more of that, the better. And it's been going really well thus far. So yeah.
Thanks, Zach. I just thought that was it's a neat new partnership that's there.
Yeah.
And we've got a contract with them. It's actually, they've identified some funding sources that are supporting them to actually pay us to do it. But I think it's one of those examples of the community kind of sharing resources. We've got the commercial kitchen at the Poverello Center and staffing and the infrastructure to collect the food and everything. And it just means that we can extend our impact, help them extend their impact, share some resources in a better way. And just, I think it's a great example of the community collaboration going on in Missoula related to food insecurity. And so it took us a while to get it all figured out, but it's up and rolling, and Zach and his team have been doing an outstanding job of making it all work.
Thanks, Jesse. Thank you all for hearing me and for your thoughtful questions.
Yeah, thanks, Zach. Now, Liam, do you want to chat about pumpkins?
Yeah, for sure. So in October, we had the 5th or 6th year of our infamous Pumpkins for the POV fundraiser. All told, we sold 2,442 pumpkins, which is a lovely palindrome, which we can all appreciate. It's slightly less than we sold in 2020, but only by less than 30. And we raised a lot more in sponsorships this year, about $5,000 more to cover costs. We had a very generous, like our main sponsor is Blackfoot Communications, who gives us $5,000 almost every year for this. Wentana LLC, which is the LLC that owns most of the Wendy's franchises in Montana. They're based out of Billings. They were a $5,000 sponsor as well. We had a lot of other community partners helping out. So I think even though we sold marginally less pumpkins, we're actually going to end up raising more money this year, which is the real goal. All the money raised goes towards our food programs and supporting the operations Zach just detailed for us. This year, I'll say there was a little more infrastructure to the fundraiser than in years past. We contracted with Missoula Works to actually have a delivery crew helping us out deliver pumpkins to our 8 sales locations across town, which was really good for Jesse's back. We also had a much bigger field to work with. So in previous years, we've had to buy pumpkins outside of what our farmer has grown for us because we sold out of those, only growing about 900 to 1,000 pumpkins. This year we were able to grow over 3,000 pumpkins, and actually we're able to donate 350 of those to family shelters and children's shelters in the food bank to make sure folks who might not get to carve a jack-o'-lantern otherwise would be able to do so this year. And I'd rather sell 36 less pumpkins and donate 300 anyway. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. But because we had such a large field, we actually twice rented a box truck from Enterprise Rent-A-Car. So it just seemed like there was a lot more, the word that keeps coming to mind is infrastructure. We just had a lot more resources going into pumpkins for the pop this year. So there will be a few more costs associated with the fundraiser, but Enterprise actually gave us a really nice discount on our truck rentals. The Missoula Works contract was pretty reasonable. And again, we didn't have to buy any pumpkins. So I think we're still going to come out raising a little bit more money to support the food program. We got over 2,700 pumpkins into the community, and I think it's helped everyone have a better Halloween.
Yeah, and then I would just, we want to have a big shout out to Blackfoot Communications. They are the primary sponsor of the event. Does anyone have questions about pumpkins?
I would just give a shout out to all of Liam's hard work for Pumpkins for the POV this year. This has been a project that I've managed for the last couple of years, and we've been able to build out the team at the POV to manage these things. And Liam's done an outstanding job of working on all the kind of moving parts. And just one last shout out to our biggest sales location is the Good Food Store, who's been selling pumpkins for the last 4 years. And the staff there has been just so great in terms of welcoming us and helping us get the pumpkins out into the community, and then all the other locations as well. So we're looking forward to doing it again next year. We'll probably be talking about adding some sales locations, and maybe we have a nice pumpkin field this year that's easier to get to. And we've thought about doing more of a traditional pumpkin patch sales location as well. So lots of ideas for how to move it forward in the future.
So lastly, if there aren't any questions about that, I just want to kind of reiterate some of the ways that you all can be supporting the POV this season. Zach did a wonderful job of detailing kind of the volunteering and donation opportunities for the kitchen and food programs. I also want to highlight our current needs email that goes out weekly. So each week I send out a quick email just featuring what the shelter needs most as far as supply donations. So if you're interested in receiving those emails, please put your connection info in the chat, or just reach out to me and I can put my email in the chat. And then also just wanting to share that our next online supporter update will be December 7th. We'll be talking about our Housing First initiatives and hearing from our Director of Programs. So thank you, Patricia. I'll definitely get you added to that list. And then in closing, are there any other questions that you all may have for us?
Yeah, I have a question, Sarah, and I think this might go to Jesse, but I'm changing the system that I use to make donations to the POV. And I was wondering if you all prefer to have an annual donation or quarterly donations or semi-annual.
So yeah, people give to the POV in lots of different ways. I think that the largely, those kind of more recurring gifts that come a couple of times during the year or monthly, we are really appreciative of. And help kind of provide that kind of consistent revenue throughout the year. So if you've got the system to do that and want to go to like an annually, or I'm sorry, quarterly or more frequently than annually, we totally appreciate that type of donation. We often are very much encourage people to do that kind of monthly or more frequent donations, just because it does, having that kind of stream of funding come in on the more regular basis is really, really helpful for nonprofits like ours that have kind of ongoing revenue needs and things like that. So yes, that kind of quarterly is
Okay, thank you.
great. So thank you for your support in that way.
Are there any other questions? Hi, Jim.
I'm sorry, I meant to be here by 12 o'clock, but I was providing transportation to a handicapped fellow, and he had to get his blood tested, and then he had to go shopping, and it took him too long. So you're about over with here, aren't you?
We're wrapping up, Jim, but thanks for joining us.
Okay, so I guess I came in time to help you wrap up.
I'll be sending the recording out later today
Okay.
as well, Jim, if you'd like to catch up that way.
Okay, well, I got some Scotch tape I can loan you if you want to wrap things together.
Oh, thank you. All right, well, if there aren't any more questions, I think we can close out. Once again, just thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate your support.
Yep. Aren't you going to have another meeting over at Johnson Street here in the next few days?
Yes, yeah,
Yep.
why don't you talk about the neighborhood meetings? That's a great question.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Yeah,
our Johnson.
I have it listed for the Thursday.
Yes. Yep. So we have, I believe it's at 5:30. We are going to be starting our Johnson Street Emergency Winter Sheltered Neighborhood meetings. It will begin on the 4th, this Thursday at 5:30.
Right.
Those meetings are always the first Thursday of the month. And
Oh.
then we'll also be continuing our Poverello neighborhood meetings. And those are the third Monday of each month, and those alternate from 5:30 p.m. and 8:30 a.m. So
Isn't this your monthly Poverello meeting right now, or?
yes, this is the online supporter update. So what replaced the tours?
Oh, okay. So you're gonna have another one on the third week of the month. You'll have another on Zoom.
Right. So that will be November 15th, and we'll be fielding any questions from Poverello neighbors at that one.
Okay.
So I guess I would just encourage everyone to alert me if you're not on those email lists so I can get you added. I have been trying to kind of reinvigorate those dot marketing. So I would love to hear any feedback on that if you have
Okay,
it.
good.
Before we say goodbye, I'd like to congratulate Zach, because I'm not sure how he's done it, but every once in a while when he leans back, he has a halo over his head.
Very good. Oh,
Is that right?
Yes.
It's not just me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Zach
I
is
don't.
very much a saint.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just trying hard over here. I don't, it just happens. And, yeah. I'm
That's a good observation, Bill. I like that.
glad someone noticed.
Yeah.
All
Awesome.
right, everybody. Thank you very much. We really appreciate all your support. It's great to have such a collection of people that come and join us and check in with us. And we'll look forward to seeing you in the coming weeks and months.
Hope
Thank
to be
you.
there. Thank you for your work.
No, you didn't stay on. Oh, well, I thought our team was going to stay on.
Me too. Should we ask
Um,
back on?
That's okay. Can I just check in with you on a couple of things related to that? Just real
Sure.
quick. Just, I'm trying to give Sarah the space to facilitate, and you kind of jumped her gun on calling on someone at one point.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, can we like go over who's doing what? Because in the past you've told me to like make sure people have like make sure people get called on, and like I didn't even realize Sarah was taking these over.
okay.
So
Yeah,
that's
so
stuff
no, I
that just
mean, she was
hasn't been
totally taking
communicated
those
to
over, but
me.
we can check on about that stuff later. So
Yeah.
cool. Sorry, Zach. Hey, Sarah, could you jump back on so we just do a quick debrief? And then I will stop the recording.